It's exactly 60 years since Malawi gained her independence. On July 6, 1964, the father and founder of the Warm Heart of Africa, Dr. Hastings Banda, declared our independence from the British, and the nation was filled with jubilation as people celebrated the birth of a new dawn and freedom at last.
Freedom! 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 Uhuru! Uhuru! Uhuru!
Ironically so, Dr. Banda would later bring back the very tyranny he had fought against in our fight for freedom and safe rule. He was a dictator in a one-party state and was revered as life president. He sent most of his political opponents to exile, and legend has it how most prominent people died under his rule. I was born decades later, and I have no way of verifying everything that is said about him and whether he was really a hero or a villain. But the point I really wanted to drive home is he gave us the independence, and whether it is the best thing that happened to our country or the West, that remains a hot topic of discussion in our political circles. Dr. Banda would go on to run the country for 30 years until Plomati Party activists, like the likes of Bakili Muluzi with his United Democratic Front, gave us the gift of democracy in a national referendum in 1994. Muluzi would go on to lead for 10 years, in a tenure that was marred by corruption and nationwide hunger. He would later be succeeded by a guy he groomed, Professor Bingu Mutharika.
Dr. Bingu ukunkuyamba koma poti mwina nangasi mwina azangu onena vantu akucholo kuti abingu sala kula zindu zatani ndiye mapuya wakuweke mapasene moni wantu UDF kumpoto pakati kuno kumwera kuno kuchotava zikomo kwambiri olemekezeka president ndi akulu achipani olemekezeka mai Patricia Muluzi amai athu first lady olemekezeka afumu atiye changata olemekezeka akulu amene mwabwera pano nduna zaboma ndi anthu onse achipani ma district ku region kwina konse kumene mwabwera ineyo lero lino ndiwokondera kwambiri koma choyamba ndifuna kuti ndikupaseni moni kuti amoye moseliwayi apresident athu achita zinthu zambiri zachitukuko monga amene mwamva muchi ndifuna ndiyambire pamenepo chifukwa chakuti ambiri akunena kuti kodi boma la UDF lapanga chani komatu zitengera munthu wakhungu kusaziwa zimenezo sichoncho chifukwa mukaona misewu imene yakhaliramo kale timati kuchoka kulimbi kufika kumulanje maola atatu kapena anayi chifukwa chanse woyipa lero tikungopena mphiri zochepa tikukafika kumulanje ndiye munena kuti pachitukuko palibe pali masukulu amene apangidwa njira mbirimbiri masafu yapanga milata mbirimbiri mutholo mukhamu muno pali mijigo ndiye kwina kunena kuti palibe chitukuko.
Professor Bingu Mutharika who only gave Malawians a taste of tyranny for a few years before he passed away while in office in April 2012. Dr. Joyce Banda, who was vice president, would later take over as the president apparent and run the country from 2012 to 2014. She left a legacy as the first female president of our country, but also a dark legacy of massive looting of public funds in the famous Cashgate scandal. President Peter Mutharika would win the 2014 election with Saulos Klaus Chilima as his running mate and adopted a country with massive shock due to the previous corruption saga. He boasts about bringing our economy back to life from the ruins of Cashgate, but then Malawians, including his own vice president, rallied to get him out of office in 2019 and again in 2020 over alleged corruption and nepotism.
There comes a time in everyone's life when one has to bid farewell to personal comfort for the benefit of his compatriots. It is a decision that our forefathers made, as I've already said. It is a decision that I have made.
Saulos Chilima would later on proceed with his political career by allying with Reverend Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera in the Tonsa Alliance from 2020 to 2024, when unfortunately he died in a tragic plane crash. And just like past governments, our economy struggled as rampant corruption made the rich richer and the poor poorer. Now, reaching this far, in 2024, 60 years later, since Dr. Banda declared our independence, I would really like this to be our inflection point. Many say that Dr. Banda was Ngwazi, meaning that he was actually the greatest statesman that we ever had, as they cite the development projects that he initiated and completed. Professor Bingu Mutharika is the only president who would also be accorded the title of Ngwazi after Dr. Banda, due to the numerous development projects that he did for the country, all in a span of 8 years.
Nkhani ya mafuta magalimoto tikukonza sitangokhala ya nditabwera ine pano 2004 anthu amalakatika ndi matenda a HIV/AIDS. Zimene zija zinatha mugesa zinangotha. Panali wina wa maganizo, munthu wace anali Bingu. Nditabwera ineyo panali njala, madera onse munali njala, anthu amafa ndi njala. Zimene zija zachepa mugesa kuti zinangozibwerera. Ndiye mukanene kuti iyayi boma limene sikukhala bwino, ena akuti ayi boma limene likugwa. Mukugwa ndinuyo. Yes. Boma limene siligwa ya mugwa ndinu amene mukunena. Choncho musamanene zopanda phindu ayi. Koma khandi notsutsa boma munganene kuti ndithu misewu simuyiona, zipatala simukuona, masukulu simukuona, ndikuona kuti nothing. Umadziwa nothing? Munatani amene njiro yacho topita kuti basi mwangokhaso pana kungosaona chitukuko chikuchitika mudziko muno, ndipo chichitika ndithu mafuta abwera.
But his reign was very, very similar to Dr. Banda's reign in many respects. He was accused of using brutal force, especially in the infamous July 20 protests that led to the MDF killing a couple of protesters.
Today, we'll discuss the significance of last week's political protests in Malawi. In recent years, Malawi has enjoyed stability and economic growth. But like many nations, it's facing significant fuel shortages and a rapidly rising cost of living. Inspired in part by the Arab Spring, thousands took to the streets in Malawi last week, accusing President Bingu wa Mutharika of mismanaging the economy and trampling on democratic freedoms. The heavy-handed government response killed several demonstrators, but more protests are promised if Mutharika does not address the people's concerns.
Of course, they were protesting high costs of living that came with his zero deficit budget that was actually intended to reduce our dependence on donor aid. In both presidencies, Malawians can attest to how they were the least democratic of all, but the most promising leaders that we have ever had as a country. And it gets you to question, is democracy the reason why we are still lagging behind despite all the years that we have been lulling ourselves? What do you think? Please tell us what you think in the comments. Okay, it's just my observation, and of course from the opinions of many. Protests often disrupt our economy, apart from other countries' issues that plague our country. Maybe in an authoritarian leadership, they wouldn't happen, and maybe taking away our right to protest would bring this country in a track, right? What about your freedom of expression? Would you trade it for the development of this country? Okay, and by the way, is it really an important thing delaying our economic independence? For me, I would rather be free than rich and so restricted in my life. And truth be said, democracy is not the reason we are poor. Corruption in government is the cancer, and our leaders have admitted several times, including saying that it is killing this nation slowly and slowly. Subscribe if you liked this video. Remember to like and share this video with your friends. And I'll see you in the next video.